Hey guys, welcome back. This is Katie. Today's video, I'm going to break down the 10-day trip itinerary to Vietnam and how much it costs. If you have not seen the last part one of this video where I walk you through where I recommend the itinerary, the route you would make for this 10-day Vietnam trip, go ahead and watch part one before you watch this one. So we have a 10-day trip planned for Vietnam. You've always wanted to go to Vietnam and you finally got a 2 weeks off and planning for a trip. And now you need a budget and save up for this trip and wondering how much it would cost for the exact itinerary that I mentioned in my previous video. I'm going to jump right into it. Of course, number one is biggest cost is flights. If you're coming from North America, let's say US, that's where I'm based. And so you can probably find an easy international flight from one of the international hubs like LAX, San Francisco, New York, any of those big major airport hubs. You can fly, especially through Asia. It's very easy to find flights from LAX. That's usually my hub that I fly out of. And if you don't live close to any of the big major hubs, then what you can do is take a repositioning flight from, let's say, Midwest or whatever small town you live in. You would fly to the big hub, then jump on the international flight to go overseas. Now, your biggest expense, the first flight you're going to take is, let's say, LAX to Hanoi. And for that, if you just go by econo ticket for round trip, it's going to be anywhere from 900 to 1500 in 2026. And I'm going to pull up a live ticket I found on Google Flights. Now, this will vary depending on your availability and how flexible you are on your travel dates. The more flexible you are, the cheaper flight you're able to find. That's usually how it works. So for one person, it's 900 to 1500 round trip. For two people, you would obviously just double that. For this itinerary, I don't recommend you book a round trip ticket because you are going to be flying into Hanoi and flying out of Ho Chi Minh City back to the US. I would just book a one-way flight and you can find it on Google Flights or whatever. And you can kind of see the whole month's calendar or several months where you're planning your trip and find the date and the price that works for you. So let's just say for the sake of this video, we just say, hey, you and a partner or a friend are planning this trip together, and we will do the cost for this trip calculated for two people estimates. Okay. So your trip is going to cost anywhere from 900 to 1500 round trip. But on the way there, you're flying to Hanoi from LAX. So that's going to run you anywhere from 3 to 500. Or if you want to get a business class or econo plus, you can obviously do that. So I'm going to give you a good range of what the cost would be. If you're a super budget traveler, you're probably going to end up on more towards the low end of this estimate. And if you are more of a comfort traveler, you're probably going to pay a little bit more for extra legroom or nicer hotels and more costly excursions and activities, eating at nicer restaurants while you're in Vietnam, things like that. That's why I'm giving you a range instead of just one number because it vastly varies depending on who you are and how you like to travel and your comfort level. If you're super bougie, it's probably going to cost you more. If you're super budget and don't mind closer to how the locals live, it's going to be a lot less for you. But I'm just going to give you like a medium good range and you can find your numbers depending on when you're looking for a flight. So once you get to Hanoi, your hotel, you're going to spend 3 nights in Hanoi. As we mentioned in the previous video, day 1 to 3 is going to be spent around exploring around Hanoi and Halong Bay area. So hotels in the Hanoi is going to run anywhere from $50 to $100 a night, depending on your comfort level, what your taste is, things like that. But you can find even cheaper hotels than $50. You can find it $20, $30. It's all up to you. You can go to hotels.com. You can go to one of the traveling sites. You can go to Agoda. There's lots of places where you can find local hotels in Hanoi. And the only thing I would say is you want to book it somewhere, wherever you want to go. Probably want to I like to stay near walkable areas of the city. That way, even though I can call a Grab really easily, I would like to explore on foot and just kind of walk through the neighborhoods and the streets and get exploring on foot that way. So your hotel for 3 nights is anywhere from 150 to 270. And for two people, let's say you're sharing a room. So while you're in Hanoi, in my previous video, I recommended that you go explore Halong Bay, which is one of the most amazing sites in the world. For that one, you can book a one-night cruise around mid-range is anywhere from $200 to $400 per person. So for two people, it'd be 400 to 800 range. And so if you wanted to do that overnight cruise through the World Heritage Site, Halong Bay is beautiful. If you want to have that experience, you would just book an overnight cruise where they would pick you up and you would spend the night on this cruise exploring the bay and come back the next day. And that includes usually cruise cabin, your meals while you're on the cruise, and kayaking and cave exploration, things like that is already included in there. I definitely recommend exploring Halong Bay while you're in Hanoi. So if you wanted to add that excursion, you can. Most of the places are very walkable unless you're completely out of the way. And then if you needed to go farther, you can always call a Grab. It's very, very affordable. And at the end, I'm just going to give you like an estimate of how much it's going to cost per day for a Grab ride altogether for the 10 days. So local flights, once you're on the ground in Vietnam, you're going to take a short flight, domestic flight from Hanoi to Da Nang, and that's going to run you anywhere from $50 to $100 per person. So multiply that by two, that's about 100 to 200. And then from Da Nang to Ho Chi Minh City, around the same price. One tip, if you were to have the choice to book between Vietjet and Vietnam Airlines, always go with Vietnam Airlines. I've heard so many horror stories about Vietjet, and I've because of that, I've only flown Vietnam Airlines, to be honest. I have not tried Vietjet. I kind of don't want to based on all the reviews I've seen and heard from other travelers traveling on Vietjet. So I just always book Vietnam Airlines domestically when you're flying. I've had some issues flying Vietnam Airlines, like mixing up, last name, middle name, things like that. Vietnam Airlines was able to take care of that very easily. You just have to go to one of the counters where they have agents and they took care of it for us. If you look for just domestic travel, let's say on Google Flights from Hanoi to Da Nang or Da Nang to Ho Chi Minh City, it's going to give you Vietjet as the cheapest airline. You're only paying like $20 extra to get less headache. I would recommend book with Vietnam Airlines. Don't skimp out on that one because it's going to give you more headache when you travel. So anyways, that's just a small tip that most people are not aware. The domestic flight, again, is anywhere from 50 to $100 per person. And for two people, that's $100 to 200 altogether for those two flights. And then, so for flights, including international and domestic flight within Vietnam, you're looking at anywhere from 2,000 to 3,400, depending on what kind of seats you get, what kind of cabin you get. Like, you want to get business seats or Econo Plus or just Econo or first class, whatever you want to. First class international is probably going to cost you a lot more. I will say that business class within Vietnam is very reasonable though. So if you want to splurge, maybe that's a good place to splurge. And let's go over hotel costs next. You're basically spending 3 nights in Hanoi, 4 nights in Da Nang, and 3 nights in Ho Chi Minh City. Hotels are going to run you anywhere from 50 to about $100 a night at each of these places. In Da Nang and Ho Chi Minh City, it's going to be probably closer to 100, 120 a night on the higher end. And you can get really nice hotels in that price range for sure and to your comfort. Let's talk about excursion and activities. The biggest one, like I said, recommended is the Halong Bay one. And I'll show you a hack how you can get this Halong Bay cruise instead of 200 to 400 per night. I'll show you a hack you can do to get it a quarter or one third of the price. Next is in-country transportation. So Grab rides, local motorbike rides, if you call Grab or yeah. So for Grab rides from airport and within the city, you're looking at maybe 100 to $25 a day. And if there's two of you, you're already sharing the same car, so it's not extra cost. So for 10 days, that will run you anywhere from 100 to 250, depending on how much you take the Grab versus walk. So let's talk about food. Now, food is very, very affordable in Vietnam. For 10 days, you're looking at anywhere from $20 to $60 per person for food per day. So you're looking at 400 to 1,200. It really varies depending on, are you only eating at Western restaurants? I definitely recommend trying out some of the local cuisine the amazing food, the scene that Vietnam has to offer, the coffee, the food scene, the bakeries are good in Vietnam, really good. So try those. It really depends on your taste and what you prefer, but you can do it very, very cheaply, even cheaper than $20 a day per person if you wanted to. Eat a lot of like the local food. The locals eat in local spots or street food, things like that, instead of Western establishments. This is a very generous range. You can also order food in on Grab, food delivery, and that is also very cheap as well. And then you also want to have some kind of data while you are on your phone while you're in the country. And for that, I use Arella. I'll provide links for all these booking sites and things I use for travel booking in the description so you can go check it out. Arello eSIM I would get is about 15 to 20 bucks per person. And so for a couple that's running for anywhere from 30 to 50 bucks, you can just get the Vietnam eSIM for 10 days and that would be enough for your whole trip. Okay, so let's talk about excursions. While you're Hanoi, obviously we talked about the Halong Bay exploration, 2 to 400. And while you are in Hanoi, the train street food, maybe small tour, you're expecting anywhere from $20 to $50. And then when you're in Da Nang area, you can go to the beach, you can explore the city, you can take a day trip or overnight trip to Hoi An, Hue. There's a lot of different places you can visit. You can also go to the Bana Hills and some of the area attractions as well. If you go to the Bana Hills, the Golden Bridge, it will cost anywhere from 70 to $120 per couple. And Hoi An, if you just go there for the day trip, it's going to cost you anywhere from 20 to 60 US dollars. And then when you're in Ho Chi Minh City, the activity cost, you want to go to the Cu Tunnel or Suchi Tunnel, probably butchering it, tunnels. It's going to cost you about $50 to $120 for that. And the War Remnant Museum is about $10 to $20 per couple. And so yeah, overall, your tours and excursions outside of Halong Bay cruise is going to cost you 250 to 450 per couple, according to this itinerary. So let's put it all together for final total for 10 days, two people. If you are more budget conscious, I would say altogether you are looking at somewhere around $4,000 for two people for 10 days for this amazing Vietnam trip. And if you're more of a mid-range budget traveler, you're looking at about five to maybe 5,800 is going to be your cost based on your comfort and preferences. Now, if you are more of a high comfort traveler, you're looking at anywhere from 6,500 to 7,500 per two people for this 10-day itinerary to Vietnam. Now, if you go the points and miles route, you can shave off thousands of this cost. That's what I personally use for my flights and my hotels. And significantly cuts down your travel costs. If you think about it, your travel flight cost by itself is anywhere from 1,800 to 3,000 for two people. You can cut that cost to down to a couple hundred in taxes and fees if you use points and miles. For example, for my flights, I use Amex points. So I sign up for Amex credit cards with high sign up bonus, meet the minimum spend. Let's say it's Amex Gold or Amex Gold Business or whatever happens to be. And right now the Amex Gold Business is running a really high sign up bonus. So what they will do is, hey, if you spend, let's say, 3 grand in 3 months, you get so much points. If you spend 10 grand in 6 months, you get so much points. And I use that Amex points to transfer to flight travel partners. So for example, for my trip to Vietnam, I use my Amex points to transfer it to Alaska, and then I use Alaska miles to Starlux. If you were to use points and miles to save money on your flights and hotels, here's what I would do. I would get one of the high Amex credit card or two if you have a player two, you're traveling there with your partner. I would each get an Amex card that comes with minimum of 100,000 Amex sign up bonus. And so altogether you have 200,000 Amex points to transfer for airline partner. So that will cover your flight for round trip. You just have to pay a couple $100 probably in taxes and fees. So that's what I would do. That cuts down like 90% of your international flight cost. And depending on if you have any miles left, you can use it for your internal flight from, Hanoi to Da Nang and Da Nang to Ho Chi Minh. That's what I did in Vietnam. I transferred Amex points to Virgin Atlantic, and I've used Virgin Atlantic to book my in-country domestic flight in Vietnam. So you can do that for Vietnam Airlines. It's one of the partners for Virgin. You can do that with a small fee of like a few bucks for your flight from Hanoi to Da Nang and Da Nang to Ho Chi Minh City. Now, those flights are so cheap. You're really looking at, 50 to 100 bucks per person. You can probably just pay cash for those if you don't have the points. I wouldn't worry about those. I would definitely save the cost for your international trips using Amex points. If you want to know the list of cards I've used to make my Vietnam travel trip, I can leave it in the description below. So you're saving a majority of your flight cost, and then it would cost you anywhere from 60 to 90,000 Amex points transferred to a travel partner, let's say like Virgin Atlantic, or you can travel through Delta or any of the Qatar Airways, any of the flight partners. And you to find available partners on Amex travel partner points, where you would go is I use a site called Seats.aero. There's a free version you can use. There's a paid version. I just use a free version. And then you can also go to Points.Yeah, and they will give you which airline, which partners, and how to transfer Amex points. If you have Amex points, let's say Point.Yeah will show you, okay, you need to transfer it to Delta Airlines. You need to transfer it to Virgin Atlantic, and then how to do it, and then how much the fees will cost. And you can compare that with Seats.aero. You can find points travel there as well. So let's say you get two Amex credit cards with each $100,000 sign up bonus. If you get the business card, you can probably get it like in one business card, like Amex Gold, but currently is running like 200,000 sign up bonus. The caveat with credit cards though is if you're the type of person who does not pay off your credit card balance each month, do not do this. Okay. You're not saving money because you're going to end up paying so much in interest. Only do this points savings hack if you are responsible financially and pays off your credit card balance every month and you're not going to carry a balance. If you carry a balance and end up paying 30% interest on that balance, it's not worth it. You're really not saving money. But if you are able to, this is what I would do. So I would eliminate practically 90% of my international travel costs, that 1,800 to 3 grand is cut down to maybe 180 to 300 at most in taxes and fees. Then for hotels, you're looking at anywhere from 600 to 1,100 for a mid-range hotel in Vietnam for 10 nights for all these places. For hotels, what I would do is I would get one or two, again, Chase cards. And Chase cards will get you sign-up bonuses for Chase points. And then I would use the Chase points to transfer it to Hyatt points. And Hyatt points go really far to Vietnam. Like I spent 5K Chase points at the beautiful new Halong Bay Hyatt Hotel when I stayed there. And so for 10 nights, you're, let's say on average, 5K to 10K. If you just get one Chase cards with 100,000 Chase points, then that pays for both of your hotels. So you're not spending any money for hotels. You're hardly spending money on international travels. So all you're really paying there is your domestic flights, your in-city transportation like Grab, things like that, and excursions and food. Okay, I mentioned that I will show you how to save significant amount of money on the Halong Bay cruise, overnight cruise. So here's the hack. Instead of $200 to $400 per person overnight cruise to Halong Bay, what I did is I booked the day cruise. So you don't spend the night there, but you're spending all day. They pick you up in the morning. You explore the bay, the same places the overnight cruises visit, all the same spots, and you still get lunch on the cruise the day that you are on it. And it's everything except you just don't sleep there. You sleep at your hotel that you already paid for. And if you get the day Halong Bay cruise instead of overnight cruise, it's like fraction of the cost. I think I paid like $40 for the day cruise for Halong Bay instead of 200 to 400 per person. So I'll insert the actual cost that It cost me for the day cruise. So that's like 80 to 90% savings. And you still go visit the same places in the Bay, Halong Bay that you, the same overnight cruises are going. You still explore the same caves. You're still kayaking in the same water, the same area. You still see all the same things, still going to the same area. The difference is you're sleeping on the boat overnight. The other ones, you're sleeping in your hotel that you already paid for, and you save 80, 90% on the cruise cost. So anyway, that's a hack that a lot of people don't know about. So altogether, you can see how much savings you're able to get. This is how you can save a significant amount of money on your flight cost, on your hotel cost, and on your Halong Bay cruise cost. You can see the difference, how much money this saves if you can be responsible with points and miles. I'll link the websites I mentioned that I use for booking travel, whether it's on points or cash, and the softwares the locals use in Asia and Vietnam to book things, book excursions, book travel, things like that. So anyway, realistically, you're saving with points and miles with this strategy. You're saving 2 to 3 grand of your Vietnam travel cost using this strategy. If you want me to make a detailed video on step by step on how to book points travel like this, whether it's a flight or a hotel, do let me know. I can make a video about how I exactly do that to save thousands of dollars in my international flights and hotels. So let me know what that means in the comments. And thanks for watching. If you want to watch more videos and cost savings for your next international trips like this, do subscribe and give this video a like, and I'll see you next time.